In this video, we are going to make one of these 6-pointed paper stars from my Festive Forests paper party book. You can grab this book down below with the link in the comments. It's a book of paper party supplies with a holiday kind of twist. There's crowns, there's paper chains, stuff to make paper fans. You will use all of the pages in the book, so it's a book to be destroyed. So in this book, there are, not 40, 3 6-pointed paper stars. It comes with 2 medium stars, which are going to be this size, and then 1 larger star, which we're going to make in this video. The larger star is yellow, and what you'll find in your book is 6 pages that look just like this. To make the star, you'll need all 6 pages, and you're just going to cut out along the darker outside line. For all of those, I've done the first 5 because no one wants to watch that. In addition, you also cut this little dotted line slit here. So let's cut out the last one. To make this star, got my basket of supplies, scissors if you're going to cut out with scissors, craft knife if you'd rather use that for cutting. I like to have a chopstick or something long and pointy handy for when we're assembling to kind of poke out the points and make sure nothing's sticking together. You'll need glue. I've just been using an Elmer's glue stick and it's been working great. I do recommend a glue that doesn't dry fast for these, so I wouldn't use hot glue. And I also like a solid glue, like a glue stick, because the paper, if you use a liquid glue, the paper kind of bubbles and it's not great. So Elmer's glue or whatever you have. A little bit of clear tape towards the end. We're going to use that to reinforce the paper so that you can hang your star up nice and sturdy. And then some string for hanging and a hole punch for punching holes. You can also use a needle to poke a hole into your paper star to hang it up. You can also, we'll talk about it when we get there, add some more decorative holes. These often get hung with a light bulb inside so that they kind of glow when you hang them up. So if you want to do that, you could actually take your hole punch after you've cut your pieces out and punch out where like these little dots are, and you'll get some nice glow there. So yeah, let's get started. Okay, so now you have all 6 identical pieces that we're going to fold. What's white here to the small lines are going to be the flaps that we're going to use to glue all our points together. You don't need flaps on the very last piece for your star because you kind of close it all up, you'll see at the end. So for one of these, you can go ahead and cut off these flaps now. If you forget, you can also cut them off at the end. It's just a little more fiddly. Now you're going to keep this long one on this long edge. You're only cutting off these 2 shorter ones on this part. Okay. So we're leaving this flap. We've cut off these on just one. You've been warned. All right. So that is all the cutting. Now we've got to do all of our folding, and I like to do this assembly line style, so 1 step for all of them at a time. You can do 1 point fully if you'd like, but this is just what works for me. So the first thing we're going to do with our long flap is we're going to fold them all towards the back. Okay, so since you're folding towards the back, you kind of can't see that little fold line until it peeks up. I like to fold it on one end and go down to the other, find that line, and then kind of connect the 2 and give it a firm crease. If you have a little bone folder, you can use that to get that crease. So then I'm just going to repeat that with all of these pieces. Alrighty, so that's all of our long flaps. So then we're going to take all these pieces and flip them back over, and we're going to fold our short flaps. We have a piece that does not have short flaps, and these short flaps get folded towards the front. So we're just going to fold those, and you want to be careful to really get that end that's at the point here folded down, because that's going to give you just a little bit of area to glue what's going to be the center of the star. So the better you get that folded, the nicer the center of the star is going to hold together. It's not a big flap there, and you'll see why once we start to glue everything together. There's just not any room. So you'll end up with a piece that looks like that. The two short flaps are folded to the color, the long flap is folded to the back. And you're going to do that 4 more times. So now that you have all the flaps folded, then we're going to fold our points along our seams. So for this, everything gets folded first in half this way. And this now is easy because you can just line up the edges now that we've folded those flaps in. You want to make sure all the points line up. Okay, so now we have 6 of these. The last folding step is we're going to take this now, we're going to unfold it. We're going to need that crease later. And then we're going to fold each half into the center line. And so that's going to line up this edge, and it's going to make a nice point at the bottom. Squeaky. It's another reason why having something to fold with. It's nice. And you're going to repeat on the other side. Again, getting things pretty well lined up here. This is going to mean your stars are come together nicely at the end. Now that we have those folds though, we're going to go ahead and we're going to unfold them and then fold back along the original fold, because this is the shape we will need for our next step. So now we have our 6 points all folded, and you can kind of see now how they're going to make the star. So each one of these pieces is a point like this. So now it's time to start gluing the points together. So you're going to need something on your surface if you don't want to get it gluey, because you are going to want to glue kind of generously. So the first thing we're going to glue is we're going to glue this long flap to the other side of the point. And so that's going to, if you put your star this way, fold side is here, I open it up, there's that long flap. When I glue it, it's going to get glued to this other side of the star. And then we're going to open that back up, and we're going to be left with our point. Alright, so this is why I like to use a glue stick and something that doesn't dry right away, because you could kind of be messy, get glue where it doesn't need to be, get things stuck together that shouldn't be stuck together, and you can always get yourself back out of that problem. You want to be extra careful to get glue on the ends, because those are going to be your points. Then all the way down the flap, and then all the way into this middle point. Nice and gluey. Okay. You're just going to fold this over, lining up where you already folded, and press firmly. Okay, and now things are going to be stuck together maybe that shouldn't be, which is why we have our handy dandy chopstick. And we go in there, and we make sure the two sides aren't stuck together, that our point is nice and pointed, and that everything is nicely glued. Okay. Alright, and then you just repeat that for your other 5 points. This is where doing it assembly line style comes in handy, because so this one that you glued first is going to have time to set and dry while you do the rest. so now all of our points are glued together. That glue is setting up, but nothing is stuck together because we've left them all kind of in this shape, unfolded with a little flap there. So the last step is now, well, not last step, but next, now we're going to glue all of our points together. Okay, and that's what these last flaps are for. Now we're going to take our piece, start back over here, which is my least gluey one. This is my no flap one, or most dry glue one. So I'm going to go back to this one. So now you're going to, it was folded like this. We glued that flap. Now we're going to fold it, turn it and fold it this way. And you can go increase your folds again if you like, because it is easier if this part is flat. And so now this is the flaps. They're folded out, they're pointed up. We're going to take another piece and fold it the same way. Get it nice and flat. And then orient it the same way, so flaps again are pointing up. And the way this is going to go together is if I slide these two pieces together, so now that these flaps go inside the other piece, that's what's going to get glued. And that's what's going to hold everything together. So what we're gluing isn't this part of the flap. It's actually this part of the flap here is getting glued to the inside, the flapless side of your other point. Okay, so you can do this two ways, and I've done it both ways. You can put your glue here on the backs of these flaps, slide this one over, and then maneuver your flaps to the inside. You can do that. Or what I found that I actually like better is gluing the inside flapless surface of the point here, and it doesn't have to be perfect because the glue is forgiving. What is not covered by the flap will just dry, and then putting it down and then folding the flap flat against it. It just gives me a little bit more control than when the flap is gluey. So that's what I'm going to do in this video. Again, just like with the last ones, we want to make sure we get glue down at the points, because that's what's going to really make our star come together in the end. Now, scrap bit of paper, maybe the smallest scrap bit of paper ever, and I'm just going to apply that glue, and I'm going to apply it pretty liberally inside. Get to that point. You might have to turn things, you might have to unfold things. Like, you got this. It's just a paper craft. Okay, so that whole inside face is now sticky. So I'm going to take the piece that's not sticky, put it down on my surface. I'm going to take the piece that is sticky, and you're sliding it so that those flaps go inside. Fold my flaps back down and end up on that sticky surface. So now if we hold that up and we push those flaps down, and you're really going to want to align the edges of this as you go. And again, this is why we're not using hot glue, because we kind of shove and slide and shove and slide, and then we're going to get our chopstick and we're going to wiggle those corners so they're in there nice. And I promise you this is easier when you're not on camera and trying to talk yourself through it. Okay, so hopefully that makes sense. That's what we're gluing. Okay, so now, again, just like last time, in case something's stuck to something that shouldn't be stuck to something, I like to pop these back open and let them dry that way. And you can see here that like this part isn't glued very well. So you can go in and try to glue that better. Maybe. Okay, we're really gonna get that point down in that corner. Okay. It's fiddly, guys, but that's why we're here. We love a fiddly craft. It's gonna be worth it. Okay. There we are. And it's nice and glued. And then you can keep going over and over and over again and build up your star. That way, I actually like to do these in pairs, again, to just give that glue a little bit of time to dry. And all of that. Let's see. So we're gonna leave this one open. We're gonna take our next pair down down this way, flaps up. I'm gonna leave our one that we're gonna glue the flaps, and then this is the one we're gonna put glue on those inside edges. Again, rolling it to really get a lot of glue in those points and in those corners. That's a lot of glue. Okay. I'm just gonna take these two and slide them together. And if you get them slid together nice and lined up before you start to do any pushing down, it's probably gonna go better for you. That's probably what I didn't do well last time. Okay, so these are nice and aligned. I smushed them down. That smushed my flap. Now I'm just gonna make sure any glue, that nothing that I don't want to be stuck together is stuck together. Get everything out of the way. Look how good that one looks, guys. Very nice point, unlike our last one. Our last one, not as good, but that's okay. All right, so that's our second set of two. And now we'll do our last set of two, and this is gonna be one of the ones without a flap, and that's okay. But since we're gluing the flaps to the no flaps, the one that still has flaps has to be the bottom one, and the one that doesn't have flaps on any side has to be the top one. So that is our last pair. So now we're gonna go back and we're just gonna glue all of our pairs together so that we have 6 in a row. I'm gonna put this one to the side though, and I'm gonna start with the first one I glued so that it's less sticky. Okay, so this is the first one I glued. Gonna again lay it down so that the one pair of flaps are up. And then the next one, flaps up also. And so now I'm gluing this very bottom inside face here. I hope this makes sense, guys. If it doesn't, like, I didn't invent this star. There are other videos out there. Other people have other strategies to assemble these, and you're welcome to, like, use their video. We all learn and process information differently, and that's okay. All right, I think there's glue in there. It does get a little tricky as we start to build this up. Again, after we've smushed it all, we're gonna open it right back up because everything is gluey and we don't want that glue to dry on something that's not supposed to be stuck together. Okay, so you can see we're getting there. The center is always gonna be a little unpredictable, but that's okay because you're gonna hang it up above your fireplace or over your window. You're not gonna see it. It's made of paper, guys. All right, so lastly, this one has no flaps, so it doesn't matter which side we glue, but again, we're holding it this way and we're gluing the very bottom. And we're done gluing, guys, so that's good news. All right, last good quick fold, and it's not perfect, like nothing lines up, but that's okay, it's close enough. It's gonna be fantastic. If I didn't glue it together, that's what our handy dandy chopstick is for. Sometimes it's also not that you glued it together, it's just that the folds don't want to unfold. So just give them a poke all the way down into those big, beautiful points. And you bring it together and it looks like a star. And so here you can start to see why we don't have a set of flaps on the last one. One, it would be impossible to get those together and get them glued and get everything settled away. The other is that when the season's over and you're done with your star decor, this will just store flat. I'm not gonna fold it back up, guys. But it will just store flat for the next season. So the way we are going to finish this up is we are going to put a small hole here and here, and we're gonna tie it together like this. And then at the end of the season, you can just cut that string and put it away. But to make that hole, first I like to add a little bit of tape because we are just dealing with paper here. So that hole might have a tendency to rip. So I'm just gonna take some clear tape and reinforce where I'm gonna make the hole. And you don't wanna make it too close to the edge. I'm actually gonna aim kind of between these two dots, a little bit higher than those two dots. So that's where I'm gonna put my tape. About an inch long piece, centered on that crease. It's probably more like half an inch, 3/4 of an inch, but bigger than your hole punch. I just have a standard size hole punch here. Somewhere in my life I have a smaller one, but I have kids and I can't find it. So then I also like to take the same size piece of tape and put it same spot but on the inside, just for extra reinforcement. This always reminds me of in high school. This is going to show my age, when you would have your loose leaf pieces of paper in your binder, and eventually the loose leaf pieces of paper's holes would give out and they would fall out, but they'd be very important, those pieces of paper. And so you had those little circle rings to reinforce the holes on your paper. And if you were like a kid that was really on the ball, you were putting those rings on even before, because you knew. Okay, so now I've taped both sides, front and back, for reinforcement, and now I'm gonna pop my holes. So we're gonna go in pretty high off the edge, and we're gonna pop a hole there, fell inside, and then we're gonna punch a hole here. I did not do that thing we talked about at the beginning where we talked about punching these holes. I will say if you do that, it does help to have a slightly smaller hole punch or to error a little bit further in. And you're gonna wanna punch them during the folding portion. Before you've glued the star together at all is when you're gonna wanna put those holes in if you're gonna wanna light these up. They still look good with a light in them even if you don't punch any holes. And yeah, if you find that some of your points are a little bit looser than you'd like, you can take, at this point now, some like liquid glue and reinforce them. You can't really get a glue stick in there, but this one is a little bit uncooperative. So I'm just gonna add a little bit more glue there. Right. Again, it's paper. So now that we have our holes, you're gonna take a length of string. If you're gonna be hanging these up, you can always just have one string to make the loop and then loop in your next piece of string to hang it. So you don't need to know yet like how much string you want to hang it. Or you can just add an enormous amount of string. That is also allowed. But I'm just gonna put some there. And you're gonna go from the inside with one end of your string. From the inside out the hole. And then with the other end of your string, again, from the inside and out the hole. And then we've already made sure that all of our points are not glued together. So we're gonna tie a knot, and that's gonna bring those points together. if you have someone helping you, this will be better, but then you're gonna try to keep that knot tight. And now we're gonna make a double knot. And we have a big, beautiful star. And it's lovely. And it's gonna look great with all of your garlands and everything else you've made here. So I hope you enjoyed it. And so here's the big one, here's the little one. I feel like this one, the littler one, is a good cake topper. It's a good tree topper size. If you can figure out how to make that happen, you should comment below because I'm here for that. And this one makes it really great, like front and center over the mantle one. So thanks for joining along. And again, if you've not grabbed your copy of my Festive Forest book, the link is in the comments. Thank you.